Okay, minasan. Today we're gonna talk about Kamen Rider Outsiders episode 2. From this episode, we learn more about the plot of Project Outsiders. Apparently, Project Outsiders is a project that has been created to stop Zein. Zein means sane in Japanese word, and we know this from episode 0 of Kamen Rider Outsiders that Zein is actually trying to kind of like make war peace or something like that. But I felt like this is actually really suspicious because I felt like they are going to the direction where in order to achieve war peace, they would need to destroy all humanity, something like that, because they would actually deem human to be kind of the pest of the war, something like that. And that is why we are actually seeing so many people trying to stop Zayn right now. First, we got the 1000 arc user. I think his name, I forgot what is his name already, but the 1000 arc guy is trying to stop Zayn as well. And then in episode 1 of Kamen Rider Outsiders, we actually get to see Foundation X is being actively involved in the Project Outsiders to actually try to stop Zayn. We are not sure why like the Foundation X is trying to do this. Obviously they are doing this for their own benefit. They are doing this so that Zayn is not just gonna appear one day and destroy all of the Foundation X members, something like that. Okay, I believe that is definitely the case. But episode 1, we actually get to see Oja making a return. They try to resurrect and awaken the power of the Mirror World once again. And we learn that by the end of episode 1, they actually want to use the power of the Mirror World to resurrect another character, and that is Dezat, the main character of episode 2 of Kamen Rider Outsiders. And in this episode, we actually get to see Dezat going through a kind of like a continuation to his story. Or should I say, this is kind of like the prologue to season 2 of Kamen Rider Dezat itself, because we know his story ended in Kamen Rider Saber. Like everything that is written in the book has been prophesied, has come to pass, something like that. So what happened now is Kamen Rider Dezat actually gained a new story after meeting up with Kenzan once again and kind of like having a change of heart with what is actually going through. He is honest with himself. Like he recognized that the relationship, the bond that he has with Kamen Rider Kenzan is a real bond, and that actually allowed him to create a new story for himself, a chapter 2 or season 2, I would say. And that they actually bonds Kamen Rider Dezat himself. A lot of people is asking like, where does he actually get all the gear to Henshin? Apparently, when he has a new story, all of those equipment actually appear out of nowhere. It's almost like a kind of like an evolution, something like that. But it is really interesting as well. I actually kind of like this episode when we actually get to see Kamen Rider Dezat in action. He looks really awesome. And most interestingly is Horobi. Okay, Horobi make a return, and he actually was controlled by Arc to use the Arc Zero form and to fight against the Kamen Rider Dezat itself. And I really love this episode compared to the first episode, because when we look at first episode, when Oja fight against Odin, like it almost seems like Oja is like overpowering Odin so much. Like Odin was supposed to be the final big bad of Kamen Rider Ryuki, and Oja is able to like beat the shit out of Odin so easily. But in episode 2, we don't have that problem. Like we actually get to see Arc Zero making a little bit of like struggle with Kamen Rider Dezat. Dezat actually struggled a little bit to defeat Arc Zero, and that is something that I actually kind of enjoy. Okay, but speaking of Horobi, we learned that he was resurrected once again. It's like, why don't we actually get to see Horobi getting resurrected? It is kind of like being said over a dialogue, so you need to pay attention to what the Foundation X guy is actually talking about. But they resurrect Horobi in the hope that Horobi is actually gonna help them to fight against Zayn. But for some reason, Horobi decide to join with Zayn, okay, like side with Zayn. And maybe that is also part of the, like, Zayn also deemed Horobi as kind of like a good guy, something like that, because we need to remember what Horobi does before he got resurrected. He actually sacrificed himself because he deemed himself as part of the problem, where he try to exact his revenge, when he tried to become the Maximo Jinline Network, the one that actually holds the law and hold the justice in the war that he's currently in. And without realizing it, he actually become the evil he swore to protect, something like that. So he actually choose to suicide with the rest of his like nakama, with three other guy. I forgot what are their name already, but with three other member of the Maximo Jinrai network, and he chose to blow up himself. So that is actually very heroic, I would say, for Horobi to do so. So maybe Zein deemed Horobi as a hero rather than a threat, rather than a villain, because in this episode ending, we actually get to hear Nico Saiba saying something like, hey, Zein right now has deemed Dizard you as a villain, so you best not to approach Kenzan right now, because if you make any connection with Kenzan is also gonna be deemed as a villain as well, and Zein is gonna attack Kenzan as well, something like that. And that is why we actually get to see like Dizard leaving Kenzan behind and swore to defeat Zein before, you know, continuing his story with Kenzan. So that is something that we can actually see happening. Like all of these members that Foundation X is trying to revive is the reason why they choose the ultimate evil, the evil character in the Kamen Rider show itself, is because they want to get the attention of Zein, and they want to direct all of the attention to Zein, and causes them to fight with Zein, and also causes Zein attention onto all this evil rider itself. But okay, so one thing that I'm not so sure about Kamen Rider Outsiders ending is whether or not what we are actually seeing right now, like the plot is actually building up for a major big fight. It's kind of like an Avenger Assemble type of deal with all the Outsiders versus Zein. I'm not so sure if we are actually gonna get that in the final episode of Outsiders or not, or maybe we're actually gonna get a movie of Kamen Rider Outsiders where all of the riders all come together in a single movie to fight Zein. I'm not so sure we are gonna get that. You know, like Kamen Rider love their plot twists. Like maybe at the end of the day, all these riders is gonna side with Zein and then fight against Foundation X, and that is gonna be the closing act, the closing chapter for the Foundation X. I felt like that is gonna be quite poetic in a sense, like the Foundation X trying to stop Zein. Turns out like all of their effort to try to stop Zein is their own downfall, something like that. And I felt like a lot of people is actually having quite a lot of complaint with Foundation X. It's like, wow, they are being set up to be one of the big bad in the Neo Heisei generation with Kamen Rider W. Like, wow, they are so mysterious. What are they actually trying to do? And we actually learned that in Kamen Rider Oz, they also have their hands on the core matter as well. And then even in Forze, like Forze is like they actually plays quite a huge role in the story. And then after Forze, Foundation X is nowhere to be found again. And I felt like that actually pisses quite a lot of people off. I felt like if they just somehow figure out a way to kind of like build Foundation X to be kind of like the big bad in the 10 Neo Heisei Rider series villain, something like that, it is gonna be so amazing. And I think they kind of like learn their lesson to not actually do that, because it is so hard to navigate, and like all of the story writing seems to they need to figure out a way to revolve all of it in the same war, and they need to involve Foundation X in one way or another. So if this project Outsiders is actually a project to kind of like tie up a little bit of loose end from the Neo Heisei generation, and I actually am quite happy with that. Okay, if we actually get to see Foundation X getting destroyed by the end of the project Outsiders, that is gonna be so good. But with that being said, that is all from me. Hope you enjoy what you see here. If you like what you see here, you know what to do. Subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye.